Greetings! On this week's episode, we are halfway through the year. Let's take time to reflect. Greetings, I am Tom Earl, and this is my year of balance. Hey! As always, this can be listened to as a podcast or watched as a video, either one. All of that can be found at tomearl.com/reflect. It is such a joy and a pleasure to have you joining me here on this awesome episode in July. As we're getting started, let's center ourselves, get our energy in a great place. So first of all, we're going to do quick breathing in. So breathe in real deep. Here we go. On the count of 3, breathe in through your nose and release. Breathe in again through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathe in and release. One more time. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Let's put our hands on our heart and just feel its power, feel its awesomeness, that every single day, without you doing anything, your heart beats, keeps all the energy in your body going, and just feel a sense of gratitude for your heart, for your heartbeat. And think about what is something else that you're taking for granted today that you, if you really thought about it, could be extraordinarily grateful for. Maybe it's the sun. Imagine if the sun didn't shine for the rest of your life. If it was just gone, no more sun. What would happen to the plants, to the food we eat, to the nourishment we absorb through our skin, through our eyes, the way it heats our planet? Gratitude for the sun. What are other things like that in your life? My go-to is always blinking. If I didn't blink, it would start to hurt. So I'm grateful I can blink. What is maybe a coincidence that's happened in the past couple days? Something that somebody brought up randomly, and when you heard it, oh, that's what that is. Or something that you were just in the right place at the right time to hear something, or the right place at the right time to see an article or a movie or a documentary, or you ran into somebody or somebody called you, you were thinking about them, and 2 seconds later they called you. Anything like that. And lastly, in the past week, what's been a magical moment? A moment in your day or in your life or in your week where something happened where if you really thought about it, that was magic. I'm thinking of my friend Travis, who we've been friends since we were in kindergarten. So what is that, 4 or 5? He came and visited me out here in California, and I got to take him to the ocean. His first time ever touching the ocean. And we took off our shoes, rolled up our pants, and we stood in the waters. The waves came crashing on us and just talked about, wow, what a ride these 30 years have been. That was magic for me. Any moment like that for you? And one more time, let's breathe in. Breathe out, and on the count of 3, I want you to do a little dance. Pretend that your favorite song that you like to dance to is playing, and do a little dance to it. Okay, mine's Electric Lady, Janelle Monáe, whatever yours is, and then dance to it. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, dance! Woo! That took 4 minutes. 4 minutes we just took to reflect and get our energy in a great place. And I bet if you went through that with me, you really breathed in and you really thought of them, even if you couldn't maybe think of a coincidence, just searching for it, centered us and got us in a great place. So I'm glad that you are here with me today. Today we're going to talk about the power of reflection. We are now in our 7th month of the year, July 2017, 07/2017, which means we are 1 month more than halfway through. And it's a great time to reflect because our first episode of the year was Vision Board, creating a vision for the year. And in January, I launched the Celebration Academy and the Achievement Roadmap so that you could take time to plan what are your goals for this year. This is a good time to check in and see how am I doing on the goals I set for 2017. Or maybe you're listening to this and saying, oh my goodness, you're feeling a little bit of panic. I had been saying I'm going to create goals for 2017, and I was going to sit down, but it just kept slipping away and slipping away. And my friends, I am here with you. I can't tell you how many times I said, now what I want to do is set down goals like this. And it just slipped by and slipped by and slipped by until the next milestone came around, like a birthday or a New Year's or something like that. So we're going to use this time to remind ourselves of the importance of reflecting. And now that you're listening and you've set aside this time, maybe you're driving and I'm keeping you company on a commute, or you're going to clean the house as you listen to this, you've set aside the time and we're going to multitask, where I'm going to walk you through some reminders of reflections, and you can in your head set them so that at a later time you can write these down. Or if you'd like to write things down as we're talking, you can. But let's take this time together to reflect. So let's start with a story on the importance of reflection. Have I ever told you the story of when I decided to take the leap and get a new car? First off, my old car was a 2002 Saturn. It was a SL2, had a little fin, for the air. What do they call it? Aerodynamics. That car was a trooper. We got that car for $3,000 cash off Craigslist. I drove that thing all over Wisconsin. I drove it to Minnesota and back, Indiana and back, and then I drove it from Wisconsin to Florida. While I was in Florida, I drove it to Miami. I drove it to Sarasota. I drove it to Orlando, all over Florida. And then I took that car and I drove from Florida to Los Angeles. And then I drove it all around LA, which is such a hard place to have a car. Cars in Los Angeles, their life expectancy decreases the longer they're in Los Angeles. So this car was a trooper. By this point, though, it had about 170,000 miles on it. So it was, chugging along. To reverse, when I wanted to go in reverse on this car, when I put the pedal down, I had to count 3 seconds. So I'd push reverse and go 1, 2, 3, and then the car would go boom, and jump and jerk, and I could reverse. So if I ever had to reverse in an emergency, it was not a pretty sight. What else? The AC didn't work. I remember my mom came and visited me one year, and it was during one of our heat waves, and we were driving around, and she said, take me to a movie theater because I can't stand this no AC life that you're living here in California. All that to say, it was a trooper, and I really knew eventually that I'd have to do something about this car. So it was about 2015, August 2015, and I was thinking, the summer's over, I'm in the last stretch of the year. Let me start this year by doing some reflection. So I did the process I'm going to walk you through now, and the first thing I said is, I'm going to declutter my desk. So I opened up my desk drawers, and maybe you're like me where you get mail and you just shove everything in there and say, one day I'll get to this. So I opened up the drawer and all the mail came pouring out. I thought, that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go through this mail. So I was going through the mail, and it was on a Tuesday night, and I looked, and there was a letter from the DMV that I had shoved in there back in July. And I opened it, and it said, your license plates expire on so-and-so date. And that date was Friday. So this was Tuesday night, and they expired Friday morning. I was thinking, uh-oh, well, I'll just do it online. Nope, I looked, and it said I had to pass a smog test if I wanted to renew my plates. Now, I knew this car was not going to pass a smog test. So to do the smog test, I'd have to go get the smog test, find out what's wrong, pay to get that done, probably going to cost about $500, and then to renew it's about $200. All that to say, I realized, you know what? I'm going to put in as much in, repairs and fixes and stress. All that's going to probably add up to what I'd pay in a monthly lease if I just got a brand new car. So I went that Friday and I got myself a new car, leased it for the first time ever driving a new car, all because, let's rewind back, I started by asking myself, what am I going to do with the rest of this year? And instead of just having all these things in my brain or in my desk drawer or on a random to-do list, I got focused and reflected in an intentional and scientific way. Scientific meaning there was a process to it. And by going through and systemically organizing what I was going to do with the rest of the year, all those things that sometimes get put to the last minute or we say one day I'll get to, I finally got to, and thank goodness I got to it in time so I wasn't driving around with expired plates. And to this day I still benefit from that decision that I made by driving around in a car that doesn't cause me stress. So that's one of my stories. I bet you we all have a story when you finally sit down to look at something and you realize, oh my gosh, I gotta do this now. What we want to do is to get from that place of urgent and important to in the flow or in the zone where we're doing things as they need to be done and with a passion and purpose. Because then even the most mundane thing, if you give yourself a good enough reason why, can become something you can enjoy. For instance, a lot of people say they don't like to cook. But if you decided that I'm going to cook something exciting and I'm going to share it with people, and while I cook it I'm going to have on my favorite song or movie, or I'm going to have a bunch of people over. If you gave yourself a big enough reason why and you made that outcome instead of just to cook, you gave yourself an exciting outcome, even for the most mundane things or the things that once drove you crazy, you can recreate positive associations that will allow you to enjoy doing those. So we want to go through that here today. And I was looking up, what is the word reflect? What does it even mean? So in the Latin root or Old French root of reflect, it means to turn back or to bend back. And I started to look, when did reflect start to mean to go within or to, I keep trying to say the word reflect, meditate, or you know what I mean? And it says about the 15th or 16th century. And so what I'm realizing is that bend back, if you think about your eyes bending back, which I know is a weird thing to think about and usually something creepy people do, where are you looking when you bend your eyes back? You're looking within yourself. So to reflect, to bend back, actually I think in the instance we're using this, works better to say to bend within, to go within and to reflect. There was synonyms, and they suggested one synonym for reflect is cerebrate. And I don't know if you heard the Roots song, Fire. The Fire. I recommend checking it out. He's got a line, Black Thought's got a line where he says, you came to celebrate, I came to cerebrate. So I finally know what this word means. It means to use the power of your mind, to use reason, to use your thoughts to arrive at a decision. For me, this is a great word for reflection, but it's only one component because a lot of times we place extra emphasis on the power of the mind in reflection. But in regards to reflecting on your entire life, using the mind is only one component of reflection. For instance, your body can let you know something about your life long before your mind does. For instance, a lot of times we burn the candle at both ends, as my mom says, and we stress ourselves out and we just keep going. The mind's on the achievement route, on the overachiever, the let's do this. And what does your body do? Your body lets you know it's time to slow down by getting a cold. It says lay down. For me, since switching to a healthy lifestyle, I haven't gotten a sort of cold where I have like strep throat or the flu or pneumonia. I used to get those things a lot as a child, but alhamdulillah and inshallah, it doesn't start to happen, but I haven't gotten those since switching to a healthy lifestyle. The only time I get quote unquote sick is where I burn myself out and my body says stop. So you can feel it. Or have you ever been in a room where something's just not right, and before you notice it in your mind, you get a little feeling in your stomach that you should leave? So when we reflect, we're talking about our body, our mind, our spirit, our souls, our fingertips, the words we consistently say that are serving as a message of I'm over and over saying a sentence of it's never gonna happen, it's never gonna happen, no, it's too hard, no, I can't, I don't have enough time. My words are reflecting back the thought that I really have about this. So even though I might be trying, if I'm using those words, they're really letting me know that you have a belief about this that's limited. So we're talking about all of those ways that life communicates with us. What are the reflection, what is bending back, what is bending in, so we can see it on the outside. It's, a reflection on a mirror reflects your face. When you reflect in regards to life, it reflects what is inside. It reflects the message of your life. It reflects themes, so you can see it, and it's no longer subconscious, but conscious. Why should we reflect? I got 3 reasons for it. I got 3 reasons we should reflect. I just thought that was funny. 3 reasons we should reflect. The first one is that reflecting takes limited focus and makes it centered. What does that mean? For the most part, the human mind, let me ask this as a question. How many bits of information do you think the human mind can hold at one time? And this counts as sensation, so everything you're touching, smelling, seeing, tasting in the air, hearing with your ears, trying to think about in your brain. How many of those things do you think our mind can filter and focus on at one time? Think about that. There's probably 1 million stimulants going on around you, 1 million memories. And how many do you think your brain can hold at one time? Say it out loud. Say it out loud wherever you are. 100, 10, 30, 4, 2, 1. The number is 7 to 8. Psychologists and brain studies scientists, I think they might call them neurologists, they have found that you can really only hold on to 7 to 8 bits of information. So when we have all of these ideas and dreams and passions and random thoughts and one day I'll get to this and all those things, you just have that in your mind and it's just always there. And you come across the new idea, ooh, I'll think about that, I'll write that down one day. When you just stuff that into your mind, it's like going to the grocery store. Have you ever gotten the hand basket when you're at the grocery store and you tell yourself, I'm just gonna get about 5 or 6 groceries. Next thing you know, it's super heavy and overflowing, and now you're carrying things in this and that, and you thought, I should have got a cart. It's because you're trying to hold too much at one time, and it gets heavy, it gets stressful, it's not as nice of an experience. So reflecting and actually creating a process around reflection takes it from limited focus because you're focusing on too much, and it gets it centered. Now, the shopping cart was a great analogy, Tom. I like that. I just thought of that now. I'm going to use that in the future because it brings us to our next one. Reflection takes you from a place of overwhelm to a place of, I got this. I can't tell you how many times where someone is someone that I'm on a team with, where I'm their manager, and they're saying to me, I am feeling very overwhelmed right now. I feel like I have too much on my plate. And we sit down and we go through the process that I'm about to show you. And instead of having everything in one hand basket bucket, instead we get a bigger bucket to put them in, like a shopping cart. So instead of having things all over the place and in this one bucket that doesn't fit in, if we organize our reflections, if we organize our goals into bigger buckets, bigger ways of doing it, it makes life so much easier. And a lot of times what happens is that we have buckets that are bigger than we think they're gonna be. Let me explain. First of all, the scientific word for bucket is they call it chunking. I use the word bucket. So for instance, let's just use the scientific word chunk. So if I take a goal or a vision or a dream, and I chunk it too big, or if I chunk it into too many steps, it usually becomes overwhelming for me. Let me give you an example of what I mean. Somebody called me the other day. They were somebody that I super respect and love. So it was so awesome to hear from them. And they were saying, I would like your advice, which was so heartwarming to me because they're somebody that are one of my heroes. And I always go to them for advice. So the fact that I can now serve them in the way they've served me was amazing. But this isn't about me. It's about the story. So they called and said, hey, I'm really inspired by your podcast and I want to start one. And I said, that's amazing. I suggested, if you got an idea, you want to go for it, start a podcast. It's not that hard. They said, oh, I don't know about that because I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. I said, tell me, what is it that you're thinking all goes into a podcast? And they said, well, the thing about why I don't want to start a podcast, or I do, but I'm not sure, is because there's so much that goes into it that it's just overwhelming. For instance, I don't know what kind of microphone to use. So I was looking it up online and there's so many suggestions. Do I use a microphone that you stick to your shirt? Or do I use one that you plug in through a USB? Or do I use one that you have to use an interface for? And then what's an interface? Should I get an expensive one? What should I do? And then what about, should I do a video or should I do audio? If I do video, do I need to get professional lighting and a backdrop? And should I record it with my camera or should I get a professional camera? And then what about the sound? Should I use separate sound and then edit it? Oh my gosh, that's just recording it. And then what am I going to talk about? I mean, do I use notes or do I memorize it? And then if I'm going to do video, do I display them on pieces of paper like you do? Or, I'm just not sure. So then there's the recording it. And, should I do interviews? And if I'm going to interview, who should I interview? And then if I'm going to interview people, should I pay them? And then I got to think about what's a website or where to put it or iTunes, Spreaker. I'm just not even sure. And then how many times a week do I do it? And oh my gosh. When they took a breath, I said, please pause. Pause. Too much. For me, when I think of recording a podcast, when I think of what all goes into my podcast, I think of I need to plan it, record it, edit it, and promote it. There's 4 steps for me. A lot of it is because I've worked through already those things they've done. But when you take, I want to start something, and you chunk it or you bucket it into steps that are that minute, where this, and then I gotta do this, then I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and you just do it in your head, you can hear how, of course, I'm honestly not exaggerating, but when I repeat it back and mirror it, it sounds exaggerated, but we have all done this sometime in our life where we thought, you know what I want to do? This. Yeah, but then I'd have to do this, and what about this, and what about that? And when we over bucket it rather than getting organized, or the psychological word, chunk it, when we over chunk it, it overwhelms us. And so instead of doing that, when we get focused and use a scientific way to reflect, we get into a place of, I got this. Last thing, the reason it's good to reflect is because it takes the subconscious mind and it activates it. It aligns it with the conscious mind. The way it does that is through a process called the reticular activating system. It's a part at the base of your brain, super small, but has a huge role in your life. And the reticular activating system, or the RAS, RAS, or the RAS, is that it's the filter that connects, or it's the filter between your subconscious and conscious mind. What does that mean? The filter between your subconscious and conscious mind. If we go back to how I said you can only focus on 8 bits of information at a time, it's your reticular activating system plays a huge part in deciding which of those bits of information should I bring from the subconscious to the conscious. And your RAS can be focused and shifted based upon what you begin to consciously focus on. For instance, have you ever gotten new shoes or a new outfit or a new car, and then all of a sudden you notice everybody else who has those shoes, or everybody else who has those new dresses, or everybody else who has that new car? Or have you ever wanted a car? For instance, if you ever wanted a Tesla, and then all of a sudden every time you saw a Tesla, you're like, there's my car! Or I remember when we were little, my sister always wanted a Taurus. So anytime she saw a Taurus car, she'd go, there's a Taurus! It's because your subconscious mind has been told by your conscious mind, this is important. And so it filters it through and lets you see it rather than telling your mind, this isn't important, it's just a random car. Or another example is my dad. For some reason, he could sleep through everything. We could be playing in the living room, having noise, banging pots and pans, and he'd be asleep. But the second the noise went from we're all having fun to somebody got hurt, my dad was there like that. You know, for instance, me and my brother are wrestling on the couch, having fun, he's asleep. But that time I pushed my brother off the couch and he broke his arm, my dad was awake in there in 3 seconds flat. Why? Because his mind, he knows that from his conscious life that kind of noise is good. But this kind of noise is not good. So it filters it through. How does this apply to reflection and goals? When you start to focus on a goal, or when you get obsessed with it, when you get passionate about it, where this is what you're ready, you want to figure this out no matter what. You have told your subconscious mind that this is important. And it starts to, wherever you're at, maybe you hear a snippet of a conversation or an article or something on TV, it lets it through so that you can focus on it. Have you ever had that happen where you decided, you know what I want to do? I want to learn how to start an online business. And any article that comes through, all of a sudden the Facebook ads you start clicking on, or you're at a party and somebody's saying, oh, you know, I run an online business. And you're, what? What was that? What was that? You walk over to that person, hey, I couldn't help but over here. Have you ever noticed that happening before, or maybe a current event that happens for? That's the reticular activating system. And so when we reflect and set goals, you tell your reticular activating system, your RAS, this is important to me. And it starts to filter things through that will aid you and guide you in reaching that goal. Isn't that amazing? I love this. When you start to realize the science behind things, you recognize how God, or whatever your belief is, that our bodies, we were created with everything we need to make it happen. Just the more self-aware we become in what do I need to work together with my own life to make it happen, the more successful we become. I love this stuff. I'm fascinated by it. That's why I started a podcast. That's why I assume you're listening. Now let me share with you, these last 10 minutes we're here together, let me share with you some tools you can use to put this into practice. A lot of this can be found on my free course, The Achievement Roadmap. I'm going to give you a crash course in it so that you can get started, but if you want to really go through and get this, take the time to go through the course. It takes 45 minutes altogether. It's broken into 3 15-minute parts. All that can be found at tomearl.com/courses. Enough of the plug. So we have 6 months left of 2017. I recommend you find one day in these next 30 days. One day in these next 30 days. Not even the whole day. 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, something like that you take in the next 30 days to walk through this. What I first want you to do is to brainstorm. Write down on a sheet of paper, and I have one for you if you want to use right here. You can get this in the Achievement Roadmap. You can print it out. Write down, brainstorm at the top of your piece of paper, and write down every idea, goal, passion, whatever that you've been wanting to do in any area of your life. Just get it out. Word vomit onto paper. I don't care if you come up with 3,000 things, 10 things, 20 things. Write and write and write and type and type and type. Get it off your chest and onto paper. Do it. So first start with that. Just brainstorm it. Word vomit onto paper. Write. Next thing you know is you're going to realize that some of these things you brainstormed have characteristics in common. Let me give you an example. Let me read for you my brainstorm. This is the brainstorm that I put before here. I put, and you don't have to worry about this being right. You don't have to worry about them being SMART goals or anything like that, or time goals. Just get your ideas out. So that's what I did. Check mine out. Mine go, these are my brainstorms. Create a new song. Update website template. Track and manage budget. Work out. Cook food for the week. Date night. Write birthday card. Record new episodes. Contact mixing and mastering. Record. Video script. Plan episode. Edit episode. Run. That's my brainstorm. So you can hear, they don't have to be perfect. Maybe some of those didn't make sense to you, but they make sense to me. So they can just make sense to you. But if you were to look at these then, are there any of these brainstorming bits of information that you can place into one bucket? Is there some sort of theme that they might have in common? I'm going to read just my first panel again, the first side. Tell me if you hear any that could maybe be bucketed together. New song, update website, track and manage budget, workout, cook food for the week, date night, write birthday card. Do you hear any of those in common? One that I hear in common is workout and cook food. To me, those could be bucketed into health and wellness. Working out and eating healthy foods, you could put all those into a bucket of health and wellness. What's another one? Date night and write birthday card. That to me sounds like family and friends. So you could create a bucket of family and friends. Another one I have on here, new song, record, contact mixing and mastering. All those different things sound to me like my expression and music and poetry and all that bucket. I call it expression and sound. That could be a bucket. Another one I have in here talks a lot about things to do with my podcast. That could be its own bucket. A bucket I call the celebration, which is the name of the podcast. So next thing you know, you have yourself a series of buckets. So instead of 15 to 20 to 30, on a really crazy time I write them out, I one time had 50 different brainstorm parts. You can take those 50 brainstorm parts and put them into 5 to 10 buckets. And when you look at a sheet of paper, when you look at your life, instead of seeing 50 things you have to do, you see 5 to 10. And now we've already gone from placing it way out there in the overwhelmed state to placing it within that frame of what your mind can focus on, 8 to 9 to 7 to 8 things. So what I want to recommend is you download this or you do this on your own sheet of paper, write down all of your brainstorms. Boom, brainstorm out every single thing you can think of, and then look at it and see what are the buckets. What are those big things I can chunk them into? Instead of saying, oh, I gotta do this. Think of really what I need to do is my podcast. Really what I need to do is have a healthy life, and then underneath those, put those things you brainstorm. So instead of having running and eating and shopping and working out and getting enough sleep and meditating and I don't know, all those things, instead of having those under separate things, you can chunk those all underneath health and wellness. Instead of call mom, text my brother, spend time with friends, hang out with my loved one, instead of all those things being in separate ones, put those under friends and family. And what this does is it takes you from the overwhelmed stage to the I got this stage. Every time I've coached somebody or it was somebody on my team that I was managing and I walked them through this process, when they take the time to do this, you can just see them go from, and you see the shoulders come down, and you relax. Here's what I recommend. Split your life into personal and professional. Even if you're super, like let's say you work a job where you're really passionate about, it's everything in your life, put it in professional. Still, it's what you make your living at. Put that in professional and then have personal. And first, when you go through this brainstorm, have 2 sheets of paper where one is your buckets that have to do with your personal life and one is your buckets that have to do with your professional life. I bet you'll end up with about 5 to 10 buckets in your professional life and 5 to 10 buckets in your personal life. And that way instead of 300 things I gotta do, first of all, you got 2 things you gotta do. You manage your personal life, you manage your professional life. And then from there, within each of those, you got about 5 to 10 buckets. In your personal life, I bet you your buckets range from things like spirituality is 1, health and wellness, family and friends, relaxation, hobbies, financial. So even right now, it's about 6, and I bet you I covered most people's personal buckets. I usually then have a miscellaneous bucket for when I can't fit things in. In your professional life, I bet your buckets range from things to do with research, plan, organize the team. I don't know what I'd have to see yours, but you could then come up with 10 buckets for that. Start to place the things you brainstormed underneath. After you do that, what I want you to do, after you've bucketed and brainstormed, is next to each bucket, I want you to come up with your what and your why. This is your double W's. Your what is the outcome, or what is it that I really want out of this bucket? For instance, health and wellness is super boring. There's no passion in that. If you're to say, my goal this year is health and wellness, it's kind of like a wet noodle. It's not really that, or a loose handshake. It doesn't got a lot of oomph to it. But if you were to say that my outcome this year is to have maximum energy and to have strength that gives me everything I need to do in my life, flexibility, and I want to feel super great. Instantly, that feels better. So what is the outcome of that bucket? Another one could be family and friends. That, instead of saying family and friends, sounds not going to give you a lot of juice. You're really not going to want to put too much time into that when you say it like that. But if you were to say what? To have the best relationships ever that are full of love, honesty, accountability, courage, vulnerability, and joy. That is an amazing outcome. To have the best relationships ever that are full of accountability, relationships, vulnerability, joy, passion, and creativity. That's what I want. Boom, you can already see. Do that for each of your buckets. It's going to sound like a lot at first, but once you get the template, once you get your personal and professional, and then your 5 to 10 buckets in each, and you write down next to each one, what is the outcome? You just got to do it once, and then it's done. And then every 6 months, check back in on it. After you've done your what, you need to get your why. Why does it really matter? Okay, so I said I want the best relationships ever that are full of vulnerability and accountability and passion and courage, joy, creativity, and awesomeness. Why? Why do I want that? I want that because relationships are what everything happened through in life. Without relationships, what would there be? When I, in the end of my days, and I'm just, all the things I've accomplished have been accomplished, my family and friends are who are going to be there around me. Because family and friends are what make me smile, because it's so much fun being with them. On and on. Give yourself the why, because the why is your fuel. The what is your target. The why is your fuel. All of this one we covered on tomrell.com/want on that episode, but we're building upon all of the podcasts we've done so far in 2017 and culminating it right here in this middle episode. So go through each of your buckets and go through what I call your double W's. Write down your what is the outcome and your why. Why do we do this? Because instead of a to-do list, the only way you can accomplish a to-do list is by doing the list. That's it. So if I write down, record the music, call the producer, set the studio time, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. The only way to do that is to actually do it and check it off. But if I have a bucket outcome of if the bucket is expression and sound, and my outcome is to create music, poetry, and creative stuff that excite people, that is a resource, a spark, an inspiration for transformation and joy. If that is my outcome, if that's what I'm focused on, there is an infinite number of ways I can arrive at that outcome. But if I think that my outcome is to record music, the only way I can do that is to record music. And when we have a bunch of to-dos in our head or a bunch of to-dos on paper, we get stressed. Why? First of all, because there's only one way to do it, and it's to do it. Second of all, when we do it, we don't feel that sense of, I've done it. Why? Because we didn't have a target. We had a to-do, and we didn't have any passion behind it. We didn't have our why. But when you get your outcome, when you get your bucket, and you say your what and your why, you can now be flexible. There's so many ways. So if I said this week I want to record music, but my outcome was to create creative stuff that inspires and uplifts people. Let's say I don't have time to record that song, but I put out some Facebook posts that have poetry in them, and people like that and say, I really needed to hear that. I met my outcome. I don't walk away from that week feeling like I didn't do anything, or I don't feel stressed all week to, I gotta record, because recording is just a pathway to meet my outcome. And the pathway is not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the outcome itself. And so my friends, let me summarize this for you. What I want you to do is these 4 steps. Go through and first bucket and brainstorm. Write down every single thing that you can think of that you want to do, get done, dream, hope, aspire to. Next, see what things are in common with each other and bucket those. Place them into chunks. For instance, health and wellness, spirituality, etc. And I suggest that you have 2 different sets of chunks. One is your personal, one is your professional. After you do that, go next to each bucket and give it a what and a why. I call that the double W's, okay? Once you've got your double W's, now you have your outcome and you have your reason why. And through that, next you can move into the, planning it out when you're gonna do it and how, which we cover on that episode of tomrell.com/want, and we cover that on the achievement roadmap. So I don't wanna, go over time like I did last episode. So I'm gonna encourage you then that if you wanna then take this from right now, this whole episode is on planning the big picture. How do you plan goals for a month or a year or your life? As you go through this. Now, if you want to take this from how do you plan something big picture to making sure you're doing it every day, and to make sure you're going throughout your week and actually meeting the things you wanted to do on your buckets, I suggest you check out one of the earlier podcasts or go through the achievement roadmap. It's going to take you 45 minutes, and it'll take you systemically through how do you take what we've just created now and make it happen every day, so that when you look back at the end of your month, look back at the end of 6 months, a year, 10 years, that I accomplished, I met the outcomes that I was striving for. My friends, this has been a pleasure. It's been a joy. I hope that you, from listening to this episode, have found inspiration or motivation to take time to reflect, to instead of feeling the overwhelm of keeping it all up here, putting it on paper and organizing it into manageable buckets that have outcomes and purpose by asking what and why. Once you've done that, place inside those buckets the things that you have. And then you have a place to reflect. Every week you can look at, these are my buckets, these are my outcomes. What in those buckets and outcomes do I want to accomplish this week? And check out the achievement roadmap so that you can then get the tools to make it happen every single day. My friends, this has been a wonderful time with you. I'd love to know your thoughts. Please share them with me. I'm available at all social media at TomRellArtist, tomrell.com. I'm not hard to find. My friends, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. And as always, I wish you peace and blessings. Greetings, Tom Earl here. I hope you enjoyed that episode of The Celebration. I wanted to touch base because a lot of people have been having some amazing questions about the Celebration Academy. And so I wanted to give you a back-end perspective or a back-end insider's view of what is the Celebration. So the Celebration is an individualized learning platform where you get your own learning profile, and it has all of your lessons, your videos, your handouts, the MP3 downloads, everything you need right here on your own learning platform that you log into.
And it's a 6-week course that, just like the podcast, it's a place for leadership, inclusion, and expression where we live as the best version of ourselves. Except with this, it takes a step-by-step systemic approach that builds upon each week so that you connect with your gifts and your purpose while taking your leadership, your expression, your communication, and your relationships to the highest level of the best version of yourselves. It's a great program. As you can see, each week has 2 lessons, and they're in great sizes, 15 minutes each lesson, so that you can complete one lesson on the way to work and complete the other one on the way home from work, or however you'd like to break this down. So you can just go click right in. Here's your video. It's great. You can download the MP3, all your handouts. You can have comments here where your classmates or I can respond. It's great. And if you sign up right now, you're going to see right here that I include the achievement roadmap right there for you. At the same time, if you sign up right now, you get a one-on-one coaching session with me, which is going to be great. In addition, you get added to Leadership Makes Impact, which is a membership program where you get a free training every single month. So you can check that out all right here, tomearl.com/courses. Right there, you can enroll today. And if you'd like, we have a program called the Achievement Roadmap. It's a free 3-part course. Connects you with the tools, mindsets, and practice for stress-free time management and high-impact goal setting. So if you'd like, you can sign up for that for free just by going to tomearl.com/courses. Sign up for free right here, and then create your own unique, individualized user profile. Just enter your name, your email address, create a password, hit sign up for free, and you are in. Once you're in, it looks like this. And you have awesome stuff right here. Welcome each class, and you can download each one as an MP3 if you want to listen to it on the go. So I hope you consider doing that. And for all my artists out there, consider joining Art Makes Impact. It's a $10 a month membership program where you get access to all of the live and online writing workshops that I have done this year. And at the same time, I do exclusive writing workshops for Art Makes Impact members. We have a great time during that. We'd love to have you join us. It's $10 a month. We have a great time, and you can also download all these as MP3s, have comments. All of that can be found at tomearl.com/courses. Let me know if you have any questions. I hope you consider joining us. Sign up for free for the Achievement Roadmap and give us a test run. You won't be disappointed. As always, my friends, I'll see you next week, and I'm wishing you peace and blessings.